Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Apologies for the gaffe there. I don't know if it's too much caffeine or too little, but I'm not all there yet. What I do have going, though, is we've got the lead dev and infamous avatar, Mr. RockSteady from the Turtlecoin project. Rock, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, Colonel Rock?
Well, this was a developer-demanded interview, as we talked about a little briefly off stream, or actually on stream, but with no audio. So developers demanded, hey, bring Rock on. We've got to talk about Turtlecoin. And I was like, what's a Turtlecoin? Hey, I make no apology for how ignorant I am. So rather than remain ignorant, I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go get the information straight from the source.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking interest in us, and thank you to Emperor Dean for having us on.
I appreciate that you said his name correctly, sir. Thank you. I know he appreciates it too. He's told me many times. So why don't we do this? I want to go ahead and do a screen share, and let's talk a little bit about the beginnings of the project. And I'm going to do sort of the totally untenable VC request, right? When you're at a pitch meeting or whatever. Oh, what's the big problem? As if it was just one, and as if you could always boil every technical problem into a high-level statement. What was the big problem you guys saw?
So we actually didn't have a big problem or some big noble cause that we wanted to fix in the world. And it just started out with me wanting to prove a friend of mine wrong whenever we got drunk. We were up too late. We had one too many, and he was like, oh man, I bet you need all this VC funding and ICOs, and you need a token sale and token and all this garbage. And to me, like, that was just outright heresy, because it's one of the first miners of Bitcoin that was, to me, kind of antithetical to the way that things should run. And I basically just put up or shut up, really, and pulled up some code, gave it a really stupid name, didn't give it a cool logo or anything. My first logo was literally mspaint.exe. And, it just kind of blew up. But once we got there, well, we're pretty responsible guys in our normal lives. And so we were like, well, what do we do now that we're here? And so we took a real critical look at the industry, and education is something that's really missing. There's a lot of assumptions, legislations, a lot of rules to the game being built based on people's assumptions and misunderstandings of what is blockchain, what is cryptocurrency, crypto assets, things like that. So we've kind of set it as our mission to educate people and kind of bring people together as far as the nerds and just the normal user out there. Because in order to have actual usage in any market, not just Turtlecoin, we're going to have to bridge a lot of gaps out there.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agreed. First off, for anybody in the audience, well, in this audience, I doubt that anybody has any confusion regarding the fundamental difference between blockchain technology, or blockchain as a technology, and cryptocurrency as a category of potential investment, store of value, and means of exchange of that value. But there's so much misinformation, it seems, just on all sides of.
Well, we just didn't want to see it become the next boogeyman. Back in the day, the internet was this wild west and such a scary place to moms and people who didn't know about it. I didn't know about a lot of the perils of the internet until my mom came running to me. Oh, has anybody shown you terrible images and things like that? So
you're like, there weren't browser tabs for you to hide yet, were there? You're like, no one's shown me anything.
No.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I saw a group lately. Was it MACC, Mothers Against Cryptocurrency? The movement has already begun. Rock, I'm sorry, you're too late.
Man, somehow I feel like I could have saved us.
I'm messing with you, but surely today somebody's gonna go get the domain, right? It'll be ma.cc.
Wow.
But
I hope not.
It's probably pretty expensive, actually. As a domain, but whatever. Hopefully nobody takes the joke that far. So awesome. It sounds like then this was this sort of an organic outgrowth of being early to the party and just kind of seeing the early cultural underpinnings of Bitcoin and then of the early altcoins then.
Well, as participants this early in the game, you can either be part of what shapes the culture, or you can be a consequence of it. And we'd rather not be the people that are having things happen to us. We'd rather be the ones that are out there educating and helping shape what happens in the future.
Nice, nice. So let's talk a little bit about Turtlecoin and how it got started. Why a new coin? Why this whole direction? And I mean, it is a fork, right? It is a crypto note fork.
Right. We're a fork of Bytecoin, which is the first reference implementation of the CryptoNote spec. And we've been kind of trotting along and changing things as we go. Now it's pretty significantly divergent from the Bytecoin code base, and it's about to get a whole lot crazier. So it's been a pretty good journey. We didn't really have. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. Oh no. No. You were going to say you didn't really have what?
Yeah, we didn't really have a reason for starting this. It was pretty much, hey, we made this decision. Here we are. What do we do? And so the responsible decision is just to honor the time and commitment that people have given us and the faith that they gave us up front, and do our best with what we've got. And so far, I think it's been doing great. We've met a lot of great people. We've done a lot of fun things, and we've got a lot up our sleeve.
Nice. I'm getting some. I'm getting an audience response that audio levels are not quite matching. Would you mind checking your audio on Zoom, making sure that you turn off auto gain compensation? And it'll be kind of weird. So there should be a toolbar that gives you the option to go into your audio settings. From there, it should, where it says test mic, there will be a checkbox that says automatically adjust microphone. Go ahead and uncheck that, and then move the slider all the way to the right.
How about now?
Yeah, I'm hearing some fans in the background.
Does it sound better?
It does. Sounds. I mean, audience, what do you say? Better? I think it's better.
All right. Sorry about that. Let's take it from the top. All right. Hey, I'm RockSteady. Good to see you guys.
I'm pretty sure they heard you well enough. I'll make sure we do a little bit of auto gain compensation in the post edit, but that'll definitely improve the interview moving forward. Let me ask, as far as
time's the charm,
right? Jeez. So let me ask, as far as forking from Bytecoin, and Bytecoin is an anonymous project. They clearly they're popular now, right? A top 25 market cap coin now, but that may not have been the case when you guys got started. What were the conditions that kind of caused you guys to think, let's fork from Bytecoin instead of becoming a vocal faction of maybe the Bytecoin community or maybe other crypto notes that were appearing from Bytecoin?
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned Bytecoin, because Bytecoin doesn't have like this great history that you might think it does. We arrived at Bytecoin by way of this project called ForkNote, which is kind of like a project that modularizes and abstracts some of the configuration details of the Bytecoin code base and makes it really easy to kind of paint by number and make your own network. So you assemble a few parts, set a few parameters, and off to the races you go, inheriting all the bugs and quirks of legacy Bytecoin. So that's kind of where we've been working with it. In the beginning, Bytecoin was kind of new at the time. It had baked-in privacy that did kind of like a coin mixing type jig every time you sent a transaction. And at the time, people were using Bitcoin mixers, which weren't exactly, I don't know, to me, they're not the pinnacle of security. They're not the end-all, be-all solution. And at the time, it was kind of like a really cool thing to be implemented. And so a lot of things kind of sprung forth from that, but one big thing was some controversy regarding the origins of it, and there's a whole thread on it. I'm not going to take too much time with it, but there's a whole thread on it on Bitcoin Talk, and it's called like blowing open the Bytecoin scam or something like that, and it had to do with accusations of a very large pre-mine, some falsified dates in white papers, and that type of foolishness. So we've tried to not take that burden onto ourselves, just to kind of ride the coattails of the Bytecoin project. Don't get me wrong, they've provided us with a great footing to get started, but I don't think that their technological merits should sit in the same boat with some of their actions.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I think some of the accusations regarding a pre-mine, they vary wildly, but yeah, they sound absolutely unconscionable, depending on who you ask. So I definitely see why you'd want to perhaps distance yourself and distance the project to strike out on your own, even though you're using their code base.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there are no close cousins then, no relative forked coins that you would consider very closely aligned with Turtlecoin.
There's a lot that are very close to us. There's actually a bunch that have forked from us. We started seeing an incidence of people trying to fork Turtle and either not having the courage to ask for help whenever they ran into trouble or asking about quirks in the code. And so we were seeing things like people tearing out the licenses or just misconfiguring things, and their blockchain would grind to a halt, and then we would go to their chat room and then nobody would talk, things like that. And so we made a guide. Our good friend Z Palm Tree put together a really good wiki that explains all the different parameters that are inherent to Turtlecoin at this point. It's a little bit different than Bytecoin. A lot of things have changed, a lot of things are gone, a lot of things have been added. So Z Palm Tree put together this very conclusive wiki that goes through all the different parameters. And I decided, all right, well, somebody has to jump in first. So I went ahead and set up my own altcoin using it and did an article on our blog that walks through the entire process, kind of like a live blog format. So, of course, Athena, which is the altcoin that I made that night, it would be related. Work Tips, which is somebody else's project that forked from us, would be related. And I guess a lot of the other cryptocurrencies that may have forked from Monero at the time, I kind of judge all those to be in the same class. We all have Discords with the same amount of users, a lot of times a lot of overlap in our users, even though code-wise we might not share as much. And now Monero is kind of like, I guess you would say, an older brother, in the sense that if Bytecoin is our parent and Monero and Turtlecoin were both forked from Bytecoin, and now they're kind of going off to college and piercing their nostril and doing different things, that's kind of where we are. So while a lot of our stuff isn't really cross-compatible with Monero, we do look at them for a lot of, well, how did they tackle this problem a few years back? And then use that in context of how are we going to tackle XYZ problem?
Got it. Okay, so it sounds then like, and what's the relationship like between Turtle and Monero today?
Well, we haven't had any problems. I mean, we try to contribute back as much as possible, and I keep trying to push Z Palm Tree to commit his wallet, Zed Wallet, to Monero, because I think it's a great improvement on Simple Wallet. For those of you guys that are familiar with CryptoNote projects, you're probably familiar with Simple Wallet and Wallet D. And we've kind of mashed those two together to form Zed Wallet, which is completely written from scratch. It's a completely Turtlecoin-born project, and it's a big, like, I would call it like a version 2 improvement over the legacy Simple Wallet.
Can we get a visual on that? Is there like a website that has maybe even just a screenshot?
Yeah. Go to blog.turtlecoin.lol.
Jeez. Again, I make no apology for how little my brain works this morning.
Pornhub.
Well, I was going to go to xxx.bit.tube. I mean, I am shilling for them these days.
All right, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the Zed Wallet article.
Okay. There
right
it is.
There.
Nice.
So that, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a screenshot of it. That is my GitHub profile icon there.
Oh, nice.
That's farther. That's ZPalm, actually, right there. That's the guy that developed it. And there's Zed Wallet. So it's got a nice little interface there in the beginning. We've added mnemonic keys, which, you know, Monero has that as well. But we just feel like the interface is a little bit smoother with it. Of course, this isn't like an animated photo there running through the functionality, but it's got a lot of really cool things. Like if you have too many inputs in a transaction that you're trying to send, it'll automatically try to optimize that transaction and fuse some of those together, or if it can't do that, it'll split them up. A lot of things that it does is really geared towards the user experience rather than just I don't want to besmirch anybody, but the nerds using it. There's a big difference between us, the nerds, and just getting normal people to use these things. And the closer we can bring the functions that they want to use to them, the better. So I think that's one of the big pluses.
Nice. So this is great. Now, I had downloaded, just in approaching the Turtle project and the Turtle team, I had downloaded a GUI wallet for Windows. That's the Nest wallet. Because you guys had been asking, like, hey, so which one? I said, hey, this is even just the GUI wallet. I found was a very different experience and actually, frankly, refreshing based on GUI wallets, the experiences I've had.
I think 5 or 6 GUI wallets at this point, like different ones. We've got Turtle Nest, which is our preferred one. That one's made by John in Belgium, which is one of our first turtles ever. He organized a meetup in Belgium almost right out of the gate. It was great. He's been a big supporter of us for a long time now. So Nest is written in Golang. Then we have Conti's wallet, which is written in C#. We have a WinForms wallet by The Real Crypt and Jeremy404. We've got let's see, boy, some people are going to start hating me. We've got a wallet written in JavaScript. We've got them all. Basically, come to the chat, type in tag GUI, and you'll get a big list that comes out. We've also got a few web wallets that are in testnet right now. Everything's going pretty well on that front. It's a big group project. We don't have like a default anything. It's mainly, hey, as a community, these are the projects we've made. These are our experiences with them. So far, Nest is working great, and it's working the best, so that's what we're using.
Nice. So I've got a couple of questions from the comment section, and they're not related to wallets, but they are related to mining and possibly wallet mining or wallet miners. And specifically when it comes to any kind of crypto notes, it seems like combo wallet miners are very popular. And CPU mining it seems like that was the moral imperative for the longest time, was making it CPU mineable, most crypto nodes. And Imperdin asks, he wants your thoughts on botnets and using anti-AES NI to limit CPU hash rate and make Turtle botnets not as profitable as other coins.
Well, what Imperdin should mention is that that's not entirely an altruistic question, and that's one that we'll probably have to take off air. He's referencing the Kryptonite Saber algo, and BitTube, I believe, is trying that out right now. And so mainly what we're looking at is how other networks respond to this before Turtle adopts it. We've had quite a fair deal of shenanigans in regard to mining, and a lot of it kind of spawns from people abusing the rules that we give them. So before we jigger those rules any further, we're going to have to take a long, hard look as far as what we do hashing-wise. So while it may be a great option, we're going to have to really put some more heads on it before we just go jumping on it. Because in the past, it's been a bumpy road. And we've seen a lot of networks out there that just jump to a change, and then before you know it, somebody's like, and they just sick like 100 miners on your network, and it's just wrecked. So.
Right. Well, proof of work is the topic du jour. If you've seen any of the other interviews that I've done, we're talking about this proof of work algos, forking left and right, the different flavors of even just of Kryptonite, where it's like. Actually, I had a developer accuse me of being there, like, oh, Seth is such a normie. He didn't know that Kryptonite that Kryptonite V1 is Monero V7's default algo, and I'm like, yeah, because it's been rebranded and forked so many times as a proof of work algo. Like, most people just say, like, I kind of give up. I kind of want to see where this is all headed before I commit any more thought cycles to this.
Well, I think that whole CNV1, CNV7 kind of foolishness comes from, there's one miner that calls it Kryptonite V7, and I believe that signifies like a major block version number or something, maybe. I don't know. I'm not an authority on this. Imperdine might want to jump in. And then whenever people say CNV1, I think what they mean is Kryptonite variant 1. We run Kryptonite Lite variant 1. Some miners, you have to put in CNV7 or something like that to get it to mine. Some of them correctly label it Kryptonite Lite variant 1. They're not using our major block number version, something like that, which for us is V4. But regardless of what you call it, we're using the refigured old ANON algo. I mean, that's basically what it is. Before we were using it, ANON was the only other, I think, CN-like currency out there. The reason why it brought us to it initially was because it wasn't listed on NiceHash and it was spinning faster than normal Kryptonite algo, which to us at the time, we figured that would be better in the way of forks. Having a 30-second block time, it could get a little bit hairy as far as orphans and forks and things like that. So we figured the more hash attempts per block, the more granularity there would be and the less chance of two pools hitting a block at the same time, which, it's now a little bit debatable whether that's a sound assumption or not. But at the time, that was our logic behind it. So whenever it comes to hashing, it's so much, here's what works best versus here's what gives the economic advantage to just a few people. So it's not only just a question of, well, what is technically right? Anybody could look at numbers and graphs all day and say, yeah, sure, this one right here technically looks like it's right. But then there's the social element and the financial element. Once you add people and you add money to the mix, then there's miner fairness, then there's miner economy and things like that. Whereas, are you giving the advantage to the ASIC guys? Are you giving the advantage to the CPU botnet guys? Are you giving the advantage to the FPGA guys? Are you going full proof of stake and giving the advantage to the establishment? It's just, there's wins and losses wherever you go. So we're kind of taking a more cautious look at that one element because that's something that can make and break the social perception of your network in our eyes. And man, there are some like wolves just sitting at the gates ready for anybody to make the wrong move.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal way of characterizing it. There's so many bad actors when it comes to large distributed networks and just the ability to penetrate them and with whatever the potential whatever's possible, right? It's not about what's in their minds. It's not even about what's right or legal because, hey, we're still fairly firmly planted in the territory of the Wild West. So maybe not the Wild West, like too, but we're still Wild West, right? It's not strictly speaking illegal if you don't secure your network and you just allow somebody to take advantage of it. So,
well, I think there's a certain responsibility and a certain liability to these things. If we're trying to be the network that bridges the gap between the nerd and the normal person, we need to take care of the normal person and not set them up for failure. If we tell people that it's egalitarian mining, then that needs to include CPUs. FPGA hardware is probably where we will end up in the future. But right now, it's not something that I can just go to Walmart and pick up a new FPGA because I can walk up to the Best Buy up the street and pick up an array of GPU cards. I can't do that with FPGAs.
I don't know. I had GPU Order on the show last night, and he assured me that you could pick up at least the Acorn at Walmart. I mean,
that may be true, but I mean, how? Let's take a sample size.
So I'm actually just trolling you. That's totally not, and I agree. Actually,
okay.
In terms of distribution of means of production, and I think a lot of people get hung up on definitions of the word decentralized, right?
Well, it's not just means of production, but it's also diversity of origin. Okay, so there could be 10 factories making ASIC, but if they're all run by Jihan Wu, I mean, what are you going to do?
Right. Well, yeah. No, at the end of the day, in the Silicon, somebody corrected me the other day. There are only two major fabs, and then there's only one major lithography. So, in terms of what we're actually using for all this stuff, so people who say like, "Well, I don't want to support Chinese industry," too late.
I love Chinese industry. I have nothing wrong with that. The problem is, though, any one specific person, organization, group, or one specific faction having all the power. Because at that point, you're owned by that person. You're owned by that corporation. You're now loyal to them. And we've always been about making our own decisions based on the evidence that we have in front of us. We can't just go out there and hand our future to a company that already has the futures of so many other companies. We'd rather just wait until this is a little bit more consumer palatable and a little bit more popular.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. I know on our interview last night, GPU Hoarder David Stanfill, he mentioned. I think that his head is very much in that same place in terms of trying to make sure that we're not handing the future to a company that prints money via lithography, right? Like, yeah, or to a single entity that prints money on silicon. So, we'll see what happens in the next 6 weeks. It's going to be really interesting ride when the Acorn ships.
So tell me more about the Acorn. It sounds like that's the thing that's been heating up the FPGA rooms lately. That's what is it, like a coprocessor, or does it delegate work more efficiently? Tell me what it means to you.
Kind of, yes. Yeah. I mean, yes, I think you hit the nail on the head with both definitions. I think it depends on the algo that you throw at it. It can be a coprocessor. It can delegate work more efficiently, but it needs a lot of bandwidth. It really does. It needs more bandwidth than most GPUs do. Because
what type of bandwidth are we talking here? Like motherboard lanes, or?
Yeah, so at least 4 PCI Express lanes to be effective, and depending on the algo, you'll get a nearly 2.5 time increase on the efficiency of a card, or on the production of a card for certain algorithms. But then with others, 10% boost. So with those full 4 lanes of PCI Express, so yeah, it's been hotly debated. I mean, it's been spilling over into every available Discord where people are willing to engage in a conversation about it.
Well, where's your money going? What are you mining, and what are you mining with?
So I'm mining with dual GPU cards that I'm currently marketing, because like you said, you got to practice what you preach. So, and for my part, I looked at it when the initial announcement was made and thought, well, let's look at the numbers based on what had been released at the time. With these numbers, I've got 2 GPU cores on a single card, and they're occupying. I can get really great hash rates with 1 lane of PCI Express by just putting these 2 GPUs on a single card. It hasn't choked my my hash rates at all. And in fact, I've tried this with Kryptonite Saber, right? The variant that BitTube is using, and then some other crypto nodes, the new variants, right? That just seem like they keep being released. Ethereum, some others. And so what I'm mining with by way of hardware, it's very self-serving, right? I also use the 1080 Ti, some others as well, just for testing. But with those dual GPU cards, I've been very interested to see, like, how much performance can we squeeze out of these things, wring out of these things with currently available hardware that's popular, commoditized, accessible. Like you said, I could go to Best Buy or Walmart somewhere and pick up, and just try to fit more of these onto a single board using just a single lane of PCI Express. And I haven't been disappointed so far. And I'm getting, I'm getting double the hash rate on a single card without having to add any coprocessors or accelerators. That said, I appreciate what David's doing with the FPGA movement, because it really is a movement. And I think it's going to be hard to really accurately predict what the effect is going to be. Like today, it's going to be what the effect is going to be about 4 to 6 weeks from now when these things ship. We start seeing them implemented in small mines, mid-sized mines, into hobby mining rigs. And yeah, just see, like, what does this do to the different networks? Where do people choose to point them? And yeah, what happens? I don't think we can know until they ship. And even with a finite quantity of these things hitting the market, I think it's going to be really hard to know what the effect will be.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of just have to play it by ear. Again, we like to kind of move quickly, but it's kind of becoming prudent to take a little bit more of a cautious approach. As we have more people that are jumping onto the network, it's a little bit more difficult for us to just force a fork and just, hey guys, here's this next change here, trust us, that type of thing. We're trying to move to a path where everybody is, we don't want them to distrust us, but we want them to verify what we're saying. We want them to take out their calculators and not trust Uncle Rock and take a look at what's actually going on and to vote in their own best interest. Because if it became in everybody's best interest tomorrow to pick up FPGAs, we'd be the first ones to be implementing that. We see that's probably where we'll eventually go in the future, but at the moment, until it's more diverse as far as the ultimate source of where this comes from, then at the moment it's still a little bit too centralized for us. Now, as I said, there's always the social factor, which may push us one way or the other, but again, that's just something that we have to see.
Very cool. Well, I don't want to get mired in what will functionally become a press release for somebody else's tech. Let's talk a little more about Turtlecoin, and less about hardware, but more about kind of problems that you needed to solve first when you first started the project. I like high-level statements because they make it very simple for a broad range of audience members, not just the devs and really involved nerds, but also the normies, right? People, the 80% of the market that's we're just the dummies that are mining this stuff and powering the networks, right? What was the first problem that you wanted to solve with the Turtlecoin project?
That the approach of there's a problem and we must solve it, I don't know if that's the most accurate angle.
Let me reframe the question then, or rephrase it. When you got into the project and you started noticing we need to make some changes, what were some technological changes that you decided you needed to make after forking from Bitcoin or Bytecoin to
Okay, so one of the first ones was the difficulty algorithm had to be adjusted. We've been really fortunate to have somebody in the field that's completely devoted to just doing difficulty algorithms day in and day out. It's a guy that goes by the username Zowie12 on GitHub. You can check him out at, I think it's github.com/ZAWY12. And he has a few difficulty algorithms that he uses. The one that we're using currently is LWMA2, which has smoothed out our difficulty adjustments so much. No, ZAWY12.
Jeez. There he is.
There you go. So the difficulty algorithm LWMA2 is the one that we're using right now. Before this, Zowie2, I believe, was the first one that was implemented in a fork node that we used. It was just a simple moving average difficulty algorithm. He could probably explain it a little bit more accurately than I could, but from a top-level view, the way that this affects miners is that whenever more miners jump onto the scene, the probability that somebody is going to guess that magic number before the block time has, I guess, let's call it just matured, it becomes more probable. And so as more miners join the network, if the difficulty to the solution that our GPUs and miners are trying to solve doesn't also get more complex with it, then our blocks spin wildly out of control. Well, it becomes a bit of that social element, that social game that I was telling you about earlier, whenever you can apply large amounts of hash power to several different networks and just kind of pivot through them. So let's say I mine a bunch of blocks on Turtle and everything comes out with 10-second blocks because I just tripled the hash rate of the network. And once the difficulty comes up to catch me, it's become no longer profitable to pulse mine Turtle. So I'm just going to go and pulse mine Zcash, or I'm going to go and pulse mine Electronium or ANON. And so you see this kind of cyclical relationship with the hash rate and the difficulty, and the hash rate kind of spins up, and you'll notice that the profitability goes down a little bit, and you'll notice the difficulty comes all the way up, and then the big miner disappears, and the hash rate goes down, and then suddenly we're at 45-second blocks, 2-minute blocks, 1-minute blocks, things like that, and it causes an inconsistent experience for the miner at home, the people that are transacting, and at that point it just becomes a game for profit, and that profit is only for the person that's there pulse mining the network. So there's all manner of ways of doing this with, different flair here and there. A popular one is a time warp attack, where you can mine selfishly in private, manipulate timestamps, and then kind of force your chain's will onto the main network. And by virtue of the way that the CryptoNote algorithm works, it's going to let the chain with the most authority take over. And so you can have spans of 1,000 blocks that have nothing in them. And they even have kind of irregular block reward because they were produced so quickly. So our goal in changing this algorithm constantly is to alleviate those concerns of what happens whenever the next guy jumps onto the network and drives the difficulty sky high. You can see a marked difference, I think, from 2 days ago whenever we switched over to the algorithm LWMA2. You can see a marked difference where there's all these spikes in a graph, and it just suddenly gets a lot smoother and quieter, and the block times start evening out and things start going better. So it's imagine like a dashboard in front of you with all these different knobs on it, and if you don't have them tweaked just the right way, then somebody can walk into your house and just take away whatever they want. That's pretty much what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So it sounds like then the one of the biggest issues that you came up against at first and that you wanted to solve, which I think is so important in terms of setting precedent for any projects that are forked in the future, or any projects that persist 10 years from now, is this issue of, like you're saying, overcoming the biggest problems in mining, the various attack vectors like the time warp attacks, 51% difficulty, and like you said, pulse mining, and having it be so enticing because it offers selfish miners a better opportunity.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And these selfish miners know what they're doing. It's no mystery, and there's degrees of culpability to it. I can't really call it attacks in good faith, because these people are just playing by the rules of the game that we gave them. And so part of that ownership role is taking control of the rules of that game, changing them sufficiently to where it takes the power out of just one person's hands and spreads it out a little bit more. So hopefully through these difficulty algorithm adjustments, we can kind of restore a little bit of that equilibrium.
Yeah, awesome. So it sounds like then, starting there, and that seems really, really, really fair. So I asked I engaged the community for some questions, and of course, the when questions have poured in. When next bull run, Rock? Tell us when next bull run.
I've never been one to speculate on market. It's a question of ethics. It's not my place.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I think you might be getting trolled by the developer community. I just want to see what you'll say.
That's fine. I mean, we were literally born in flames and 4chan biz. So if you've got it, let's see it.
Nice. Joko asks, why is the emission on turtles so high?
And by high, can you give me a little bit more context what you mean by high?
We'll come back to that as soon as he's able to type something into the comment section here. There's a little bit of lag on the BitTube comments. They're working on improving responsiveness there. So we'll see exactly how he characterizes high. But in the meantime, let me ask you, as far as kind of jumping to present day with the Turtlecoin project, what are some problems or just some changes and some directions that you want to take now for the roadmap? What's next?
So currently we're working on Karai, which is it's a merge mined sidechain concept that we've been working on for quite a while. It's basically a sidechain that's going to work with the Turtlecoin chain to provide smart contracts, and it'll allow you to do things like, let's say you wanted to.
I'm sorry, I can't look at the avatar because it goes wonky every now and then when it stops tracking your face.
Oh, got it. Well, sorry about that.
It just keeps throwing me. I'm trying to keep a straight face here though. But Karai is the sidechain. Yeah.
All right, so I turned off face tracking for the moment so it doesn't bother you. So basically what Karai does is it's a merge mined sidechain. We were noticing that people were stuffing things into the metadata fields of the Turtlecoin network. And since the whole purpose of the Turtlecoin network is, fast, quick payments, quick blocks, lean payments, and so we had a guy that actually built. I guess he was enamored with BitTube because he built a decentralized video platform and just started shoving videos right into our blocks. And he was like, "Hey guys, check this out!" And then the entire network just ground to a halt because, again, like I said, it was somebody playing by the rules of the game that the parameters that we defined. And man, that really got us jammed up. So what happened was our wallets couldn't assimilate all of this extra data. It had no idea what to do with this extra data that was in the blocks. And at the same time, another guy made like a decentralized encrypted chat app. And so I doubt his really had any impact on the block swelling issue, but the videos sure did. And stuffing 1,000 files into one block just kind of it didn't jive well with things. So it really put the heat on us to expand our efforts to get Karai up and going quickly. And now that we've made a lot more headway, I guess, on rebuilding the core spec and the core software of Turtlecoin itself, we might actually be doing a little bit more alteration than we expected on the Karai network. At first, we thought, hey, we'll just fork it from Turtlecoin. We'll alter the block template somewhat so that we can use it to our advantage. Maybe add in some extra functionality there for dApps and that type of thing. And as we were progressing, we noticed that we were picking up a lot of momentum on the next implementation of Turtlecoin. So right now, it's kind of at the community's discretion whether we launch Karai with just the Turtlecoin code base, or whether we take the full proper step forward and kind of measure twice before we cut. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. That's awesome. So, and I apologize. I brought up the roadmap. The roadmap here. There it is, Karai. Yep. So yeah, it shows the development started.
Yeah. So you'll notice that we only have start dates. We don't have end dates. So as a group project, it's always been very difficult to forecast who's going to be here on what day. We all just kind of show up every day after work and do our thing. Some of us do this for work. This isn't my full-time job, but there's a lot of guys there that would call it their full-time job. So whether they're college students or whether they're between CEO positions, there's a lot of people that are pitching in work for us, and we really appreciate that. So not disappointing people has been core to our values. So that includes not giving hard finish dates and things like that just let people down in the past.
Nice. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to name names of any technology that everyone was expecting, Casper. But yeah, I hear you. There's real danger, especially as community grows. There's real danger in overpromising and under-delivering. So kudos for having just the opposite approach.
We just try to keep it fun and lighthearted, and whenever you have to do something is right about when you stop wanting to do something. So, this is still a great fun project for a lot of us, and a lot of the original crew is still there. So we're going to keep grinding it out.
Nice. So I've got Okay. All right. We've got a holler back here about how high emissions are. So looks like I'm just going to read the quote verbatim, or the comment verbatim. Even at 1 sat, I'll make the same amount of BTC a day as other coins. 30,000 turtles every 30 seconds is quite a lot of emission, in my opinion, when Bitcoin has only so many decimals.
This is great. I've actually written an article about this. If you could pull this shit up, Jamie. Supply.turtlecoin.lol.
Supply.turtlecoin.lol. Sorry, I'm having a hard time spelling the word coin today instead of con.
That's all right.
There it is.
Let's walk through this. So scroll down a little bit if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's talk about supply. So when we say coins or total supply or total turtle, what we mean is there's 1 trillion turtle planned to be emitted over the lifetime of the network. So just for context, that's going to be over 100 years. Okay, Bitcoin's going to be done in probably after lunch. So if you look at us in our number of coins there, we're currently fifth out of Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Turtle, and IOTA. So let's scroll down a little bit further. This is where the decimal places come into play. So our divisible units, okay, now these are actual spendable units. So these days, a penny won't buy much, but a Satoshi will. Well, you can't get much smaller than a Satoshi, which is why we see Turtlecoin traded against Litecoin pairs, because you can get a lot more granularity and you can subdivide it a little bit more. You'll notice that Turtlecoin only has 100 units per Turtlecoin. So whenever we look at it at the amount of atomic units, we start to understand this is a common fallacy that people think, oh man, Turtle has this huge supply, when it really doesn't. We have 2.1 times less atomic units than Bitcoin. So it's even spread out over a longer amount of time. So we're more scarce than Bitcoin over a longer amount of time. So I'm no great math genius. I dropped out of high school and college. I was very fortunate to make it out alive. But the math on that is pretty extreme. Okay, so given that to use Karai, our sidechain, you have to power it up with Turtle, we even had to increase the emission of Karai by 1,000 times. So one Turtle gets you 1,000 Karai data, because we have to charge for things like CPU operations, memory operations, blob storage, stuff like that. So it starts to get really scarce really quick once you have an actual use for things, and once you're not looking at the coin as a coin. Where the decimal is just a human construct. I'm terrible at math, so I gave it 2 digits after the decimal point, because I wanted it to be just like the dollar. I wanted it to be something relatable, and I wanted people to actually feel like they were mining something, rather than 0.000016 for my coffee. Like, seriously? You know, how am I expected to do that math in the coffee line? Like I told Kevin Rose, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that kind of math. You know?
Tell us how you really feel, Rock.
Well, sorry to bring out my good words on your show, but it's just one of those common frustrations of, you know, crypto assets. If we're going to make these things actually interchangeable as money, let's start with making it relatable. Okay, there's no 1/128th of a penny coin sitting in my pocket. Okay, I'm out of all my Zimbabwe dollars, and Starbucks doesn't take them. So, like, that's where we are with this whole thing. The emission is not sky high.
Nice. Thank you for going out of your way, first off, to write the article, and then to draw attention back to it. I'm glad we had our RTFM moment there.
Oh, it's okay. This definitely wasn't like we don't RTFM people in the Turtlecoin chat. There's a lot of this that's going to be new to people. If I seem passionate, that's not me getting angry. It's just that there's so much misconception about this, and we like to educate people as much as possible to just kind of cut the misconceptions first of all, and stick to just the facts.
Nice. I did notice that, by the way, when I got the invite into the Turtlecoin Discord. Which, guys, by the way, when this is re-uploaded, there will be a link to the invite to the Discord channel there, the Discord server. I noticed that the community is very supportive. I mean, to the extent that there are channels, sub-channels within your Discord server for other coin projects to just sort of have a home away from home.
Yeah, it's a marathon. It's not a race. You know, there's plenty of shine for all of us. There's going to be a trophy for everybody at the finish line, no matter how much I disagree with participation trophies. You know, we can all make this work. All right. And if we're going to be clawing at each other and, you know, pulling everybody back into the crab bucket, it's not going to work. And
Sure.
So we're all running roughly the same software. I mean, let's just call it what it is. All the Bitcoin forks might as well help each other. All the Bytecoin forks might as well help each other. I hope someday all the Turtlecoin forks help each other. There was a website called cryptonotestarter.org, I think it was.
It's from the Cryptonote Foundation, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they're still around. Oh, look at that, Kryptonite.
I think they are. Oh, there it is, yeah.
So this is the guide that I hope we someday replace. This thing, I remember tinkering with this thing back in like 2015, maybe, something like that, 2014. But it's been a long while that this website's been up there. And the base that it starts you on, it puts you right in the era of, I want to say like Monero or something like that, which is pretty far back there. And we've seen a couple of projects fork from here, and it's always a bumpy ride. So with the forking from Turtlecoin thing, the whole logic was we want people to learn about this as much as possible. We're not threatened by people out there starting their own ideas, because the way we look at it is, there, out of 100 people that we educate on how to start their own blockchains out there, maybe a few of them are going to come back and contribute to us, or maybe a few of them is going to have the next big idea that, hey, hopefully it displaces Turtlecoin one day and becomes the next big thing. We can learn from that. And we think that if we enable those people to express what they're already able to do, then there's going to be some form of reciprocity once they make it.
Sure. To use your analogy about it being a marathon, or the Silicon Valley example, the YCOM example of a marathon full of sprints or whatever. This is the only marathon in which humans kind of behave like ants, which should be inspirational, right? Where the only marathon where you're standing on somebody else's shoulders and somebody else is standing on yours, and somebody's standing between two people, and we're like a group of fire ants, like creating these crazy structures that are interlinked. So it's by definition, I think there really is room for various clusters to all receive a trophy together at the end of that. But it's unlike anything I think we've seen in tech ever before. It's inspirational.
Yeah, it's we definitely have. What I feel is like something that's akin to. Do you remember back in the early days of the internet, whenever it was pretty much just colleges that were connected, and then we started seeing an influx of people, kind of like Eternal September. There were some things about it that weren't as great, but then there were things where all this new stuff was popping up, new ideas, new conversations, new things to learn, new people to talk to. I think we're kind of witnessing that same thing. The internet is manifesting itself kind of like on another plane, another way of expressing what people want to do, the will of the people. Nice. I think it's pretty important. We're witnessing something pretty powerful.
Nice. Well, I have to agree. And the thing is, though, it's still a group of individuals, right? So when there are actors that decide to do things that are a little bit more generous, I don't want to ascribe too much nobility, but at least generous, right? With time and with effort and with expertise, then that really helps to raise that cooperation quotient, right?
It's the last component to open source, in my opinion. So let's think about all these other open source projects that had great ideas that just never took off. Okay, Diaspora, the social network. It's a great decentralized or federated social network. Everything is great, yet there's nobody on there, and we just let it die. And then RSS, we let that die too. That's another great thing.
Yeah, that's a tragedy.
I think cryptocurrency, adding that money element, kind of returns the skin in the game to the developer. Okay, obviously the developer, some choose to do pre-mines, but as Turtlecoin did, we have no pre-mine. We have no developer fund. We have no developer reward that comes out of the blocks or anything like that. We're completely donation based. We live on hopes and dreams and lots of ramen soup. So I think that adding the money element to it is really restoring that vigor that a lot of open source developers had for their projects and their dreams and things. And now the component to get them compensated for it is a main facility of that terrain. Nice.
Well, you got to know, shameless plug for these interviews. The reason that I conduct these interviews is precisely because, the reason that I offer these interviews bounty free without extorting a bounty is precisely because there's so many devs who are putting in so much elbow grease, so much shoe leather, trying to find other collaborators. Just so many late nights, so many long weekends, so many holidays, times when they could frankly be spending their time, going to the beach, sipping on something cold and refreshing and spending time around people they like, right? But they're doing this instead.
Yeah, we could definitely be hanging out with people we like. I mean, I love the guys in the chat, and it's a full-time job being there sometimes, but Man, I remember the last vacation that we all took, and we all agreed as a chat, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks into it, we agreed as a chat, well, this is kind of the turning point, whenever we come back, either we make something of this or we let it go. And I'm glad whenever we came back, we all decided to keep plugging.
Nice. I've got a question from the comments here from Canti Turtle, and they might be baiting you, because you might know who this is. They might be fishing for a compliment here. But they ask, what is your favorite aspect of the turtle community if you had to pick one, Rock?
Man.
Yeah, I think the right answer is Canti Turtle. That's my favorite person.
Conti? That's my boy. That's my son. That's my son. No, I'm kidding. He's a great guy. He's probably one of I would count him as one of the pivotal members of this community, and the quality that makes Conti one of the people that's indispensable to this community is his devotion to all aspects of it, and that's a common thread in all of our developers, whether it be Sorghums or Z Palm Tree or Conti, all the guys that work with us. I burn my CD. Everybody, we all have this innate patience and a willingness to put up with each other's bullshit. Okay, and it's kind of like your friends that you're friends with in school. You might get in squabbles day to day. You might have disagreements with the person's sport team of choice, but at the end of the day, they're still like family, and they're still your friends. And I think the most important asset to the community of Turtle is just like a holistic focus on just unity, bringing people together, whether they're a regular person, whether they're a developer. We've actually had people come into the chat and they're like, hey, I'm 14, I want to learn how to code. And I'm thinking of one person in specific. There's a guy out there that doesn't get enough recognition. His name's Sejo8, and I'm so proud of this kid. He's an actual kid that hangs out in the chat and came in, and he just wanted to learn how to program, how to do things, and now he makes bots. He doesn't ask me, hey, come and type this for me. He'll be like, hey, what do you want this bot to do? And I just tell him what I want it to do, and then he goes and pesters somebody else for a little bit, and then comes back with an actual bot, and it works. And so
that's awesome.
There's so many things that I'm proud of in the community, and I think just the focus on bringing everybody together and the focus on everybody working together is what's held us together as a team.
That's so cool. That is so cool. As well, I mean, I was blown away by how welcoming they were, even though I am not like Sejo8, right? Where I'm like, hey, let me figure out how I can totally contribute something of technological value.
You can be like we will turn you into a developer whether you know it or not. Now, whether it's through fixing our bullshit that we messed up in the last pull request, or whether it's teaching you to accomplish your goals, we will make a developer out of it.
Well, I definitely help teams to learn how to comment very well, because I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, I might have to take you up on that. Certainly, to see you guys doing anything significant with Golang is cool. Right, not many people are really diving in.
It's really, really cool. And for those of you out there that are uninitiated, Golang is kind of like the wild hipster cousin of C++, which is what Turtlecoin is written in currently. And the reason why we're interested in Golang is because it's cross-platform. It builds really easily. And also, it's got an emphasis on type safety. Now, you don't really need to know what that means, but basically it means you can add up two numbers without getting blue or apple as the answer. So for us, that could be quite disastrous. Hey, what's my balance? Turtle. So it's something that's pretty cool to us. And a shout out to a guy named Rashid in the chat who, man, this guy was like one of our most prolific shit posters in the beginning, and dude got on my nerves, and I think he actually got banned at one point, and we threw him in exile. Well, this guy folded Origami Turtles until he got released from exile. Then he goes, what next? And I was like, learn Golang. And would you believe this guy actually took the book that I gave him and learned Golang and started writing RPC interfaces in Golang for Turtlecoin? Like, I couldn't believe it. We used to have this channel called Exile, and it started out kind of as a joke, but at the root of it, we don't want to ban people. We don't want to silence people. But if you're so much, like if you cause enough trouble, or if you get enough people rabble rousing against you, then, you know, hey, we got to put you in exile where people have to opt in to whatever your stream of BS is. So we would put people down there, and, you know, people have to go down there to talk to you. You can't go and harass anybody else outside of it. We actually haven't had people down there in so long because the community just kind of acts right. It used to be in the beginning that we would have people that they would walk in, and just as soon as they walk in, we'd be like, hey man, hey, how's it going? And they're like, goatsy.jpg. And we're like, ah! And so we'd have to send them to exile. And like, we get less than one goatsy a month now. So I think we're doing pretty good. And exile is just kind of vacant. I mean, we just throw parties in there in the middle of the night because it's empty. And, you know, what's
nice. Right, and leave the party remnants just in case somebody needs to go there tomorrow.
It's like going to Alcatraz as a museum, you know?
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, what I'm hearing loud and clear, not just from you, but in the comments, definitely just seeing a lot of support, a lot of love from a lot of people, talking about how they're enamored of the community. And
is there a way that I can see the chat? Because I can't see the...
I'd have to. I can pull it up right here. Actually, I've got the
don't
chat.
worry.
No.
All right, cool.
No, but it's
as long as it's not a trouble or anything like that. Oh
no,
man,
it's really not.
Baked Minds. That guy's like a shapeshifter or something. He's in literally every single network. Any new Discord, anytime I walk in, it's just Baked Minds. Hey guys, you know, like, how do I mine this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Baked Minds, he was actually in exile. He had to sing. So there's things that you have to do to get out of exile. Now, you know, is
this like Order of the Arrow in Boy Scouts?
Well, yeah, kind of. There's few things that will get you evicted from exile. Like, I think the only people that we've successfully just banned from there outright were just like actual Nazis, you know. So Baked Minds was stuck in there, and we gave him a choice of whether he wanted to fold origami turtles or sing karaoke to get out. And so karaoke is one of our most favorite pastimes. And so he sang, I think it was Don't Turn Around. It might have been Don't Turn Around by Ace of Base in the audio chat. And so...
Oh, wow. I don't even know what that is. I never had that CD.
Oh, man, you're missing out. Ace of Base is...
Yeah, sorry, that was a little dry. I totally did, and I'm trying not to... The 90s happened, man. We kind of have to own up to that, right?
Yeah, I think I see some rollerblades there in the background behind you.
Bruh, you don't have no idea how deep the connection was. I actually had sponsors for rollerblading back in the 90s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was an all-consuming thing because we knew that culture would never die.
Yeah, were you a speed skater or aggressive or what?
Aggressive, man. I did the ramps and stuff.
Oh man, I've still got a pair of USD Shimas over here, ready to break an ankle.
Yeah, my stuff was I was a little pre-USD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you like the K2 backyard guy?
I was a little pre-K2.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So what did you guys put? Just a Campbell's soup can under your feet, huh?
Basically, yeah. It was like those metal wheeled skates, and we just sort of, you know, I'm trying to remember what exactly. It was a milk carton. We just folded it multiple times, and then we'd like glue it underneath, and yeah. Decrease, the coefficient of friction. We got inventive back in my day, and then I think we invented VHS to shoot videos on. It was rough, really rough.
Yeah, it was tough days. You know, I actually still have some Betamaxes. I never had a Betamax player, but everybody has that one relative that sends you old, you know, barnyard finds. So.
Oh yeah, it was fun times. I have old friends that are still like reaching out to me like, Seth, I have all the archive. Seth, you have all those videos of us skating? I'm like, I'm sure I do somewhere, but good luck finding a deck for me to digitize it now.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, derailed. I'm going to pull these off the screen. But yes, plenty of support. Baked Minds, singing the karaoke out in exile.
Yeah, I hope I'm not monopolizing the show on too much BS. I know you guys are kind of miner-centric. Feel free to deviate back to what your people are probably here for. You know, they say, do the dance that got you there, so...
Right. So yes, thank you. Back to the dance. So the question is team. Let's talk a little about team, like active contributors. And I should maybe go back to the site if there's already...
let's go to that. That one's probably outdated. Let's go to github.com/turtlecoin/turtlecoin.
Okay. I promise I can spell it.
Turtle.
Yeah, right. I'll just head to Turtlecoin. We'll navigate there.
All right, click Turtlecoin. All right, you see where it says 38 contributors?
Oh yeah.
There you go. That's the people that have contributed to that one repository. Now, that doesn't necessarily count everybody that's in our Discord chat that has contributed code. Now, if you run your own project on our main organization GitHub right there, so basically, if you contribute to code, then you're labeled as a developer because you're submitting code, you're fixing things, submitting patches, that type of stuff. So if you go in the Discord, we try to label everybody that walks in the Discord that we can tie to a GitHub name. We label them as developer, and I think we're getting up around 100.
Nice. So basically, I need to contribute some art or some localization. I'll be a developer. Ooh.
Well, art and things like text. Like art and copy will get you the contributor role, but if you contribute code or a patch, that type of thing will get you a developer role.
Nice. Oh, I was trolling there. I was really hoping though.
Really it's all right, man. If you we can. I mean, I'm completely dead serious. We will turn you into a developer whether you want to or not. This is awesome. That's the one thing that's not democratic here.
Nice, and apparently not an idle threat. I saw a comment. Talking about how that totally happened. Sage08 is now in the comments like, wait, my ears were burning.
Yeah. That's Sage08. He's a good kid.
Nice. Let's so team then. It sounds like then you're really big on attribution and just making sure that the contributors or developers that they're given proper attribution for whatever the contribution is.
Yeah, the place where we track all of our projects there on GitHub is kind of like an indelible timeline of who contributed what when, and how it affected things. So we try to keep that chain of custody intact as much as possible. And so whenever it comes to honoring the projects before us and our licenses, we tend to be real big sticklers on that, because if it weren't for the opportunities that the general public or the GNU public license afforded us, we would not have been able to be where we are now. Projects that adhere to the GPL3 like Forknote and Bytecoin, we owe everything to them. And without given that opportunity to look at their code, modify it, and redistribute it, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. And I don't think half these other projects out here would be either. So open source is something that we are fiercely protective of. And we want to make sure that we are not violating the licenses of those that came before us.
Nice. Definitely appreciate that. You mentioned having some projects attempt to rip out licenses after forking, and then I want to say I read something somewhere about, it was on our cryptocurrency, about a dev who forked Turtle. I don't want to name names, and we don't have to give them any attention here, but I thought I read something on our cryptocurrency trending about Turtle being forked by a dev, having them come back to the wrong Discord server. And
yeah, it wasn't, man, I don't mind if somebody forked Turtle and then did a Control F replace and accidentally just replaced our licenses. I get that. That's an honest mistake. A newbie would not know that would happen. But this guy, man, I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm fighting hard not to mention this guy's name.
Yeah, don't give him any attention. We just
I'm not even. Yeah. So this guy deliberately went and removed just the Turtlecoin licenses, and then he went to Zed Wallet, which is something that not a stitch of code was used from the original Simple Wallet. That was completely written by Z Palmtree. This guy had the audacity to go crying to after somebody, not even me. I didn't even call him out. I was just like, wow, this guy's a dick, And then somebody else on their own accord went and DMCA'd him, and so he tried to make us the boogeyman, and he goes to the wrong Bytecoin repository. Okay, Bytecoin has changed hands. It's no longer AM Juarez. It's now BCN Dev. They're a different team. It's been that way for over a year, and this guy should know that. Okay, he went to go crying to the wrong person's mommy and daddy. Oh, Turtlecoin hit me. Well, This guy removed just our licenses deliberately. Man, that chaps my ass. There has never been a more decisive FU in our faces than that. Man, I get heated about that.
Yeah, no, fair point. Fair point. Attribution matters, guys. And this coming from a person who is not yet a developer. I've been told that I will soon become one, but from someone who's not yet a developer, but just reading through repos and trying to figure out who the heck do I thank for this awesome code? Attribution matters.
You support? Are you American?
I am.
You support the Bill of Rights, correct?
I do.
Did you erase everybody's names off of it and put your own?
I mean, I tried, but they kicked me out.
Okay, there you have
it. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So, that and free and open source software is you got it. You got to get it.
Well, whenever people do that, or they do things like obscuring their code, that's another no-no. Part of the GPL is whenever your code is asked for, you need to be able to make it available. That, things like that are what I consider a dead end to progress. It's not helpful to anybody. It doesn't move the tech forward. Whenever you strip the software of its origin, you're stripping history out of it. And if it weren't for a lot of these licenses in the software, I wouldn't know where to go look for clarification on errors, because I guarantee you there's other people that are experiencing the same things. And so if they just see, whatever coin, they're going to go look that up. And of course, you don't have any social presence. You don't have any GitHub, because GitHub would nail you to the wall for what you did, and it's just, I don't know. And the fact that this guy is looking for ways to re-upload the code somewhere else rather than just replace the one license statement. And we're talking about less than 30 letters and numbers here that nobody sees, by the way. We're not asking you to put, this is a Turtlecoin project on your software, anything like that. This is something that strictly nerds see. Only the nerds look at it. So you're telling me that as a developer, I can't even call him a developer. So you're telling me that as a nerd, you're so disturbed by seeing our name that you just have to delete it. I don't understand.
That's a bit of self-loathing there, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe we've given that about as much attention as it deserves, but I think I understand why you would take umbrage. So, Moving on. Let's ask about some of the background of some of the contributors, some of the background of some of the developers. I mean, I think it'd be too extensive for us to even cover in an interview. But as far as some call outs for background, you mentioned CEOs that in their spare time are contributing to the project.
That was a euphemism for unemployed people, people in between CEO positions. But we've actually got quite a few people on the project that I know of personally that that choose to be anonymous, but through events and consequences, I've verified who these people are. And I'm pretty surprised every day that these people give us the time of day. And, some of them are founders, some of them are just developer contributors, but I take notice of everybody that comes into the chat. I take notice of everybody that contributes code, and you just never know who's dropping by your project. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of things that you use every day that you'd be very astonished to know work on the Turtlecoin project. And part of the anonymity thing is us not riding on the coattails of our previous accomplishments and not being judged on the merits of our previous teams. We just want to be judged on the merits of what we're doing, what we're producing, and what we're teaching people. So a lot of the motivation in some people being private is very much that, just modesty. And there's other people that are believers in Turtle that are I guess pretty close to the top. Like Kevin Rose was one of our first supporters. He found us on 4chan. Those of you guys who remember Dig or a little website called Facebook, things like that, this guy's been behind a lot of investments and creation of things that a lot of us use. So he brought us on his podcast, and that gave us a big boost in the beginning, and it was pretty significant having somebody of that caliber being a believer in our cause. And so that, I guess, gave others the confidence to come and help us. And so since then, we've had others join that, like I said, frankly, I'm just amazed every day that we get their time for free.
Nice. Conti mentions in the comments that he's secretly Elon Musk. or Bill Gates, but it's your choice.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Awesome. Well, I think it's definitely one of those. So you're 50%. You have a 50% chance of being right. Just take a guess.
Well, I was walking behind him the other day, and he dropped a $100 bill, and damn sure didn't pick it up. So I guess we settled that one.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit more about so Kevin Rose. If we're gonna name drop, we're gonna talk about background. We're gonna talk about an early initial support. Kevin Rose is he's the man that saw the vision first. It sounds like in a big public way.
Yeah, he actually found us on Biz. And so that was pretty crazy. I didn't think that people like Kevin Rose would be browsing 4chan for financial advice at 3 a.m, but
I hope ideally financial advice from sports from notable sports figures.
Right. Oh yeah, of course. So we were just kind of very fortunate to make a lot of right steps forward in the beginning as far as promotion. We've always tried to be very honest. We're not like, hey, we're going to solve blockchain, guys, that type of thing. We've always been like, hey, we've got some rough edges. We've got some odd characters, but we're a big team here, and we're putting something together. So if you think it sucks, great. All the more reason why you should be part of this, because you've got the chance to make it better. And a lot of people who would be your most staunch critics, given the dignity to express their point and given the chance to not be flamed out of existence, will turn into your biggest supporters. And we had people who spent, months in exile. They couldn't have folded enough origami to get out or sang any songs to get out. And eventually they just redeemed themselves through actions, whether it be contributing code or whether it be just helping things out or being genuinely remorseful. I think
seeing commits with the comment, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. And people will give you the empty apologies in the beginning, but there's genuine remorse from these people. And like I mentioned before, aside from the obvious super hell-bent racist people, we haven't really had to ban hardly anybody out of exile, because I think people genuinely want to just act right and be part of something. And whenever they come in, it's such an overwhelming experience, because even whenever you jumped in the other day, everybody starts welcoming people right away. And that's not just because you're Seth Estrada, the internet celeb. People are happy to see new people come in. We're happy to get you started. We're hitting you with the tips right away. We're trying to give people a chance to kick the tires, check out the network, see how things are, and they'll probably want to stay. And so a lot of people who came in saying, I'm not a developer, I don't know this stuff. And next thing you know, they're like, so what's this pull request thing here? I see a spelling mistake in my wallet. It's really getting to me. How do I fix this? And I've got this perpetual bounty that's, if you can find a spelling mistake in our software, I'll go ahead and pay you the bounty, which is 100 turtle. Now, that's not a lot, but to some people, that's an easy way for a so-called non-coder, and I'm doing air quotes over here, a non-coder to get some scratch starting out. So it's not about spelling mistakes. Don't be fooled. I dropped out of high school, but I'm not stupid, okay? So it's not about getting people to check for the spelling mistakes. It's about getting them used to looking through the code, because eventually you read enough lines and you're like, wait, these are just English words and regular numbers, and I can kind of understand this stuff. And so there's a lot of people that through enough digging around in there, they're like, okay, I'm ready to get started, and let's try out this development thing.
Nice. Oh, that's just awesome. That is awesome. Man, I kind of want to detour a little bit and ask if you're aware of I don't want to. This isn't their interview. There's a programming school. It's a Lambda school. Austin Allred. It's got there's a Lambda school. There's this interesting.
Tell me about it. We're definitely education focused. So, I'm not worried about you stealing the shine or anything like that. It's a cool project. Let's hear about it.
I think you'd really dig it. He did growth hacking last year. The primary rule of growth hacking, so it's like Fight Club, right? The first rule is don't talk about growth hacking.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book. So it's like, what do you do after you write a book about growth hacking? You have to stop.
Yeah.
So he started a school called Lambda School. And what they do is it's fully subsidized programming education. I'll totally covered his face up. I mean, you can see it. There we go. Cover her face up. But there you go. 30-week immersive program that gives you the tools and training for launching your career, and it is tuition free. Rather, it's tuition subsidized, and then it's deferred payment where they take a percentage of salary, but then they work their hardest and they negotiate for you to land a job as a developer that's as high paying as possible.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's in their interest, right, to get you the highest possible paying job, so that way the net impact of their deferred tuition, on the percentage base, is paid off faster, and they're perfectly transparent about what your costs are moving towards your actual career.
That's awesome. I think the scholarship program is kind of pretty hard to navigate, and I think new ideas like this definitely help out. I would seriously be surprised if nobody from our chat is already signing up.
Yeah, no, it's really pretty cool. Really pretty cool. I'm definitely impressed with what he's doing too. And so for you to be like, hey, we've got bounties for stuff that just gets people to start engaging with the code and seeing like, hey, they're finite systems. It's like learning a new language, right? Like learning Spanish or Italian or something. They're finite systems that have governing rules that anybody with enough tenacity could probably start to learn.
Yep. Necesito estudiar.
Eso sí. So let's a lot of digressions here. Back to Turtle. Big question is, and I think we pretty much covered it. Culturally, it seems very obvious. If I can summarize based on the conversation that we've had and the experience that I've had around the community, it seems very clear that the reason that people get up in the morning and say, I want to contribute to Turtle, is because of primarily the community and the culture. Like in open source communities, we don't talk about corporate culture because it's not a corporation per se, right? It's just it's a corpus, right? It's a body of people that come together, sort of their own choice. But it's very clear that the culture draws people back in, and that this culture of helping each other to improve, not in a corny like Kaizen, must improve every day, or like lean way, but clearly that focus on improving oneself and becoming a better programmer by contributing to something with a culture of very low judgment, but very high constructive criticism. That seems to be a very driving force in a community. That's huge.
I appreciate it. That's definitely, I'm probably going to write that down later. It's a very succinct way of putting it. I try to articulate it as easily, as quick to the details as possible. And the way you put it right there was just great. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to write that one down. Hopefully it's GPL3.
Well, yeah, hopefully that's my first contribution. There you go.
There you go.
But that's what I'm saying.
I think that, I appreciate it, and I hope that as we grow, we're able to maintain that same essence, because not to cast any shade on Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin that I embraced in 2009 is not the same Bitcoin that we have today. And I think that if we all focus a little bit less on our own personal gain and a little bit more on our collective gain, I think we can do no wrong.
Nice. Well, the culture is clearly felt in this interview as well. So you're functioning as your own best ambassador, your own best PR there.
I definitely appreciate it, and I'm so flattered that everybody could be here to watch. Imperdine and Canty and Baked Minds and everybody, and Sejo. Thank you so much. And for everybody that I didn't mention, I'm sorry. And hopefully I can get you in there next time. Cool. But thank you to everybody that watched today, and thank you for noticing us and listening to your community and having us on. It was very flattering to kind of hit so close to the top again. So
yeah, no, my pleasure. Bonus round, lightning questions. Yeah. We'll just go real fast.
I've got as much time as you like. I feel so bad that we got the time zones mixed up earlier, but I've cleared my schedule.
Yeah, no worries. I think we both mentioned off interview about how you're set to UTC. I'm set to Eastern Standard Time, which for me is a pain. It hurts my soul because as a boy raised in California, it hurts my soul to concede defeat to New York. But
oh yeah, it's got to be rough on California traders, huh?
It totally is. They never sleep.
Yeah.
But here's that bonus round. ASIC resistance. Does it matter? If so, why? Because some would argue it's all about total network hash rate, and that pools are more of a problem, pose more of a threat.
Yeah, I suppose that's there's a lot of factors at play with that. So the reason why we're averse to ASIC right now, we've actually got a article on this. If you want to pull that up, if you want to just type in Turtlecoin ASIC, we've got 2 articles that are pretty popular. One is what's the deal with ASIC, and one is take your buy call and shove it up your ASIC. There you go. What's the deal with ASIC? I wrote both of those. Let's do that top one. I did the illustrations on that. They are really top notch. So nice. There you go. What is the deal with ASIC? And you could scroll down a little bit and see my beautiful artist rendition of an ASIC computer right there. And you see, at the time, FPGAs weren't really on the forefront of discussion, but I'm sure if I were to rewrite this article now, there'd be a little FPGA kind of hunched over the back of the GPU there. But so our main gripe with ASIC, and this article goes over, what if we support it, and the pros and cons of both sides from an objective standpoint. ASIC is great. It's an eventuality. It's not something that we're going to keep at bay forever. Right now, it's just highly inconvenient, and the profitability is balanced out of our favor at the moment. It's highly centralized as far as, there's speculation of test runs lasting a little bit too long, ASIC miners arriving with dust inside, that type of thing. There's things that make it a little bit, 710 claps. That's pretty good.
Hold on.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. 7-Eleven, it was an inside job. I wish that ASIC were, made by, like give me some General Electric, give me some Toshiba, give me some Samsung, give me some Fujitsu, give me anything, but nothing against Bitmain. They're doing great job. Jihan Wu is a smart dude, and he makes for great memes, but it's just not right now. It's like you can see somebody and they're the coolest person in the world, but they're just not the right friend for you at that moment. ASIC is not the right friend for us right now because it gives too much of our consensus to one person, and it just further compounds the problem of mining pool centralization. So, it's a big blank canvas right now, and it's going to be really fun to see how this all plays out as far as balancing the technical side along with the social aspect of it, because we were born and started with miners, and we can't go alienating them now. So we have to kind of move with our crowd as they go.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate you publicly reinforcing that, just saying it for the record. There are a lot of the, a lot of the Zcash variants, a lot of the Z-Classic and Zcash variants they've been against the ropes, right? With the Z9 Mini and the Z9 being announced. And Some of them have not been so forthcoming with a public stance, just for.
Well, I suppose is there a, now correct me if I'm wrong, is there a developer reward factored into the block reward in some of these situations?
I mean, you make a great point. I haven't followed the money.
I was just curious. I always ask myself, who benefits from this? There's some people out there that genuinely don't have anything to say on the subject, and then there's some people that have a vested interest in staying silent. And I'm not saying that they fall into either one of those categories, but that's the question that I would start asking is, why would they stay so silent? Because I don't know if all blockchain founders are the same as me, but we tend to be kind of opinionated, and there you have it.
Nice. So let's jump back into this bonus round here, and I appreciate you kind of laying bare your reasons for being where you are right now on the spectrum of ASIC support or not. But proof of work in general, where do you think it's headed?
Proof of work, if you would have asked me about a year ago, I would have said it's the most egalitarian way of solving things. But we're seeing so much just manipulation and faults with proof of work. We're seeing supply chain problems. We're seeing all these types of things that are problems inherent to the flesh element of this equation, and it's taken the influence out of the nerds' hands. It's not just about numbers and code and things like that anymore, and about what's best for the job. It's just me, and maybe you down the line. So there's a lot of room for other consensus mechanisms to step in. And that's not to say that we're going proof of stake tomorrow, but proof of stake is something that, that altcoin that I built while we were working through that tutorial that I was talking about. That one we plan to go full proof of stake on pretty soon. It's called Athena. And right now, while it's worthless, it seems like a pretty cool thing to do. I don't know. It's proof of work is something that it gives potential to the masses to be able to mine some stuff and get some coins. But whenever we set aside miners must get paid, what are we really using proof of work for? Okay, so it served us great in the past, but what's going to happen next? Okay, now that's not a vote in the bucket of delegated proof of stake or proof of memes or whatever consensus mechanisms we have these days. That's just saying that I'm recognizing that this isn't totally unfallible.
Right. Totally agreed. Also, proof of memes at least contribute something useful to society.
Yeah. Well, I'm still here waiting for somebody to ignite the meme economy, because Turtlecoin will come out just blazing.
Right. Yeah, you guys don't know. It's a stacked deck. Awesome. Something that's come up a lot in conversations that I've been having with various different projects and with my community is alternate bounties, right? There's so many individual contributors to the networks that maybe only have a few GPUs lying around. Maybe they've got a lot. Maybe they've got a few dozen. Maybe they have a mid-sized mine. But GPUs in particular are uniquely suited to doing different kinds of work, not necessarily the proof of work algorithms that have been so popular. But proof of useful work is a phrase that's been bandied about a lot lately. What does that phrase mean to you?
I think that wasn't that a concept that was first introduced by Hal Finney, that was talking about usable proof of work or realistic proof of work or something like that. I think it's smart. While we're out here just pissing these cycles into the ether, we might as well be using them for something. There's projects since the beginning like folding at home that I thought were really cool. And just in general, anything that kind of furthers a medical pursuit like that is something that's it's very close to me. And so folding proteins, great idea. SETI at home, great idea. We love aliens. Happy birthday, Alien, by the way. He's in our chat. It's his birthday today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer Alien isn't in the comments.
He's around. He's just kind of moody. So then there's all kinds of useful things that we could be doing with these calculations, but that doesn't necessarily give you we can have all these noble pursuits, but that doesn't necessarily make it the best for the job. Now, we had Primecoin. I think didn't they just recently get delisted from Bittrex, and the things are kind of fading out from what I'm hearing. I don't know. I hope I'm not throwing shade on somebody's project that's just bumping along great. But their pursuit is finding new and unique types of prime numbers, which to people much smarter than me, that's probably a great asset. But I think the balance is going to be balancing usefulness with service to the network and also social cause. So you need something that's palatable to the general public, and that thing that's palatable to the general public needs to also be accessible. And that accessible thing needs to also serve the network. Now, those are three things in the utility triangle that all fight against each other. So it's going to be fun to see what kind of bridges that gap. And man, if Turtlecoin became the one, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like with Athena, you're looking at doing proof of stake, and so there's going to be some alternate.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Athena right now, as it is, only puts out blocks whenever there are transactions waiting in the pool. There's no empty blocks. Like I said, why should a miner? I'm not against miners, but in the context of Athena, if we take out of the equation a miner must eat, well, why the hell are we emitting blocks with nothing in them? With Turtlecoin, we have 30-second blocks, and we're just like, blocks, woo, all day. And consequently, our blockchain is like 1 million terabytes. And so that's going to be a problem someday. That at the bottom of your screen there, I got my little laser pointer pointed at Mobius, fast blocks, no sync, is kind of like our goal to create a rolling wave of churning inputs so that we can have clients that only acknowledge like the last 5,000 blocks or whatever, so that your sync to board the network is a lot quicker. And if those inputs keep getting kicked to the front of the line, then we can let the guys who have infinite storage worry about what happened historically 50 years ago before you created a Turtlecoin wallet. We can let those guys be the pillars of the network, and hopefully the storage market catches up with us someday, because otherwise we're in some serious trouble. But yeah, that's kind of the idea behind that. And kind of to touch on the economy of proof of work thing that you were talking about earlier. So there's this concept of proof of work, just, it sucks down so much power. And despite Kryptonite being a very power efficient algorithm, you'll notice it runs a lot cooler than for example, like mining Ethereum. But it's also more economical for miners for us to have a merge mine sidechain. So if you think of mining as, okay, we're standing in a room and there's one guy that looks at 10 people and he says, guess a number between 1 and 100 in the next minute, and I'll give you $100. And he does this all day. Well, what if a second guy walks into the room and he's like, I want everybody to also, and people are still guessing numbers, but now they have two guys that are paying them if they guess the right number. And that's kind of how merged mining works. The extra work isn't on the miner, it's just on the pool to send the hash guesses to two different networks. So
whatever happens to merge mining as a popular thing? I mean, the crypto notes in general, that was like one of the headlining features.
I was actually there for that discussion, and so the Bit-Monero timeline. You'll have to go back into the history for this, but the Bit-Monero timeline, in the beginning there was a discussion on Bitcoin Talk whether we were going to do merge mining or not, and the community was vehemently against it because they thought that they would be forever tethered to the whims and the hash power of Bytecoin, and that it would be a somewhat limiting factor. And as we now see, Monero have their merge mine side chain, which is Tari, which is kind of funny because, like, if you look in the chat history, we were in Discord talking about Karai like way far back, and then Monero's like, surprise, we're VC funded, go home. But nothing against them. They're probably going to blow us out of the water, but we'll do our best with with our sticks and band-aids and whatever we got. So if we're
boards with nails in them, you can fight.
Yeah, and so we're trying to make that more economical so that we can power this side chain with the hash power of the Turtle network. And it's also part of that whole social element that I was telling you, the social/economic game. Karai is actually 100% pre-mined. There's only a tail emission, and that's the only block reward that people will be getting. So this is an economic safeguard to prevent two disaster scenarios that are inherent to any type of tokenized relationship, like Ethereum, for example. So the one disaster scenario is we don't want the sidechain we don't want it to subvert the main chain with regards to hash power. Now, if it becomes more economically viable to mine Karai directly, then people will not mine the main chain, okay? So if you mine Karai directly, you're going to be getting like 1/3000th of what you could possibly get if it weren't 100% pre-mined. That 100% pre-mined goes, it's stored in escrow in a smart contract that you have to exchange Turtle for. So it's kind of like a poor man atomic swap enabled by our sidechain. So you exchange one Turtle, you get your 1,000 Karai data, and you can go and interact with the network from there. Now, the other disaster scenario is, what if the value of this side token subverts the value or overcomes the value of the Turtle network? It kind of breaks that 1 to 1,000 exchange there. So part of the exchange of Karai is the economic protection that this balance will stay in effect. So people will want to merge mine it because it's an added bonus. So either a mining pool can use this to draw people to their pool and say, hey, we pay out Karai data bonus. You can go and change that for Turtle, or they might even facilitate the change to Turtle for them, or some type of lottery system. Also, conversely, a pool could offer to not give that value to their miners, and they could choose to use that extra Karai bonus data as a way to subsidize the cost of their mining pool. mining pool operation is a full-time job. So in order to allow this exchange to happen and allow for Karai and Turtle to live together, we have to add some type of economic controls. Now, some of you out there that aren't very economically savvy aren't realizing this, but this creates economic pressure, an inward pressure on the Turtle market once apps for Karai start being built. So in order to use it, you have to acquire Turtle to exchange for Karai data to use the platform. Eventually, this happens seamlessly in the background, and Karai just becomes a buzzword stuffed in the bottom of the document. And you don't care that your app is powered by Karai. We're just giving you a useful app. So, we've thought of a few proof of concept apps. Now, we got the guy with the decentralized video platform. We've got the guy with the chat platform. And, the example I always use is, let's start with, the assumption that, hey, quantum's going to come out in 5 years and blow us wide open. And so let's not go and stick things, encrypted things on the blockchain of any permanence that we expect to stay private. So let's assume that in the future, everything becomes public. Okay, now that's kind of a nightmare scenario, but let's just assume that that's what's going to happen. So we take the proof of concept idea of, what if we start a social network where the only thing you share are streams of bookmarks? So what that would involve is I create a wallet, and then my view key becomes a key upon which you can follow my feed. Now, a view key allows you to only see the incoming transactions to a wallet. So as I'm adding these bookmarks to my feed, then people are going to see that happen as transactions on the chain. So the way a bit of arbitrary data is stored on the Karai chain is that it kind of piggybacks onto a transaction. And so it's conceivable to think that somebody could have a Chrome plugin, and every time they bookmark a bookmark, it's going to say, hey, do you want to add this to your Karai network? And you just say, sure, put it in the Seth Estrada stream, and then all my bookmarks related to Seth Estrada, like all your interviews and articles and things like that, will all fall in one stream. And so that would be its own segregated wallet with its own view key, and everybody who imports that view key is going to see your bookmarks and things like that fall into that one little account. So there's things that are already there that would help us limp through this type of like poor man smart contract functionality to demonstrate to people, hey, it's more than just shuffling coins back and forth. We have this set of chains that works together to create a functional layer of usability. Okay, so we have Turtlecoin, which is the transactional layer. Then we have Karai, which is the computational layer. And then who knows, down the road we could be using Athena as like the settlement layer, because that was the grand vision for it whenever I was working through the article of creating it. And that's a big reason why it only puts out blocks at the maximum once every hour, and only whenever there's transactions waiting in the pool. It's definitely not like a miner's get rich paradise. So it's just all part of, here's the situation we're given, what can we do with it, and what do we already have that people aren't making use of, like the merge mining thing that you brought up. It's something it's inherent to the CryptoNote spec. If you look at the white paper, there's like, I think 9 or 10 separate CryptoNote white papers, and they're all text documents that are still available on that CryptoNote website that you pulled up. And part of that is merge mining. So hopefully we bring that back. I mean, in the past, it's only been a function of things like Minergate, which a lot of people have their various opinions on Minergate, and where does the mystery 30% hash rate go? Who knows?
Right. Well, I had a couple more questions that I wanted to ask, but I think we've been going.
Are you out of time?
I'm not out of time, but that's a dangerous thing. I'm a man with nothing to lose. So I wanted to ask us a couple more so that we can maybe we wrap this one up, and then we put a pin in some other questions, and we come back for a round 2. Maybe even do a hands-on turtle fork.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, so maybe one last question, and then, because I mean I've had a great time, by the way, you got to know. I have a great time interviewing most projects, but all my exposure to the community and with the developers, and so far looking closely at the project, like, you're fast turning me into a believer.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it, man. You're a turtle now.
Oh no. The transformation, it's almost complete.
Your pizza will appear on your desk by lunchtime. Don't worry.
Yeah, guys, tune in next week for the 100% shill version of this interview. But what I'm hoping what I'm hoping to jump back to is like merge mining and then just proof of useful work. These are two things that to me are very interesting because, like you said, we've got so many cycles that are you characterize it very well. They're just being pissed away, and I'm a much bigger believer in cycle scavenging for something that actually matters. We're doing just the opposite. We're using, in some cases, some of the least efficient processes and throwing and not paying any attention to additional usable cycles, and we're just throwing them at networks that are oversaturated and then pooling them on services like NiceHash so that they can then go be used by, we can turn NiceHash into somebody else's jackbooted thug to go attack networks like Bitcoin Gold.
NiceHash is spawn of Satan. Oh my God. I went from thinking of it as a steady paycheck to thinking of it as, oh God, what are they doing now? So.
Well, and also I think maybe for the record, I shouldn't be so vocal about accusing NiceHash of being the culprit of the Bitcoin Gold $18 million getaway, 51% attack, confirmed $18 million.
That's a new one for me, Jesus.
At least 18 mil. That's just the USD equivalent. I mean, who cares? In Satoshis, that's all that matters, right? But, yeah, so I should go on record as saying, like, I don't mean to besmirch anyone's name at NiceHash, but it seems like they were very likely used. Yeah. Well,
in that regard, let me float this idea by you, okay? Put your VC hat on for a moment and think about this. All right, so you know how Cloudflare kind of ties together all of these different, let's just call them servers, CDNs, what have you, around the world, okay? And they're able to use that giant amount of excess resource to withstand very large attacks. It takes an ever-increasing amount of attacks to overwhelm Cloudflare. So I'm kind of curious, what if merge mining could be used in a way that a lot of these smaller hash rate coins that use the same hashing algorithm is there a way that they could all pool their resources and be merge mined as a mesh of each other and somehow at least raise the cost of miner arbitrage?
So
if your hash rate is so big that you basically have to buy all of NiceHash to displace it in a significant way. I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking about the other day. I was just having a little pineapple moment, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah. No, it's well, I mean, I'll take the VC hat off and just say that as a miner, that interests me, and as somebody that's had to interview projects that have been subject to these kinds of attacks, I know it would interest them. And looking at the CryptoNote spec and again being like, hey, whatever happened to merge mining? I've been kind of wondering the same thing. And now talking to the devs and the interested parties who are working on ProgPow, we're saying, hey, we're creating proof of work that is uniquely suited to GPUs.
I think we're talking about the same thread, actually. I'm glued to that. Are you talking about the thread with WowArio and Tevador and a few of the other people that was like on merge mining is the name of the discussion on GitHub?
No, but we should tune in next time. Maybe we close here with the cliffhanger.
Ah, shit! I exposed the secret club. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, Seth, I definitely appreciate you having us on here, and I appreciate the candor of your audience and everybody pitching in the questions. It's definitely more fun to have a longer interview where we can kind of dive down deep into these issues, because a lot of these interviews, it's very much just, hey, Turtlecoin, what are you about? That type of thing. So yeah, I appreciate you for letting us dive a little bit deeper into the mission.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And then two essential questions that I have to ask at the end of every interview, just to sort of close. The first one is kind of serious, and that is 5 to 10 years from now, win, lose, draw, good, bad, indifferent. The outcome of this project, as you know, even some good projects can suffer chain death because of whatever, right? Things just happen. It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen 5, 10 years from now. So regardless of the outcome, then when people look back at the team, the efforts, and the project of Turtlecoin from today, what do you want them to remember?
I want them to remember that we were a passionate group of people that always acted in the best interests of the community, and with the community's enrichment at heart, rather than our own. Because rather than our own financial benefit, you know, there's a lot of times where we could have made this purely a money game, and we've seen that with a lot of the recently chain-dead chains, doing things like being spoon-fed code to ignore their own proof of work, that type of thing. I just want people to remember that we came here every day on our own volition to work for the whole rather than for ourselves, despite the many chances that we had to make this purely for selfish benefit.
Nice. Well, I don't think anybody can argue that's not the case. I've kind of, I went on record before saying the culture is what impressed me. So I'm sure that will absolutely be what people remember. And then last question. This is the most important and very serious.
I'm puckered up, man.
When are you going to transfer me the 25 trillion Turtlecoin that you promised for this interview?
Dude, I told you not to say anything. Come on, man. I told you not to say anything.
Okay, so here's where I get to shill my channel and my outlet, and that is just that I don't extort bounties, and I actually don't accept them.
You should really. Is your tipping wallet linked up to the? Is it linked up to the bot in the chat?
It is, but it's all been diverted to the tip jar, so it goes right back to the chat.
Well, no. Whenever you redirect tips to your tip jar, it sits in your tip jar. If you want to tip it back to the chat, you can actually cash that out if you like. And you know, if you want to put that on a paper wallet, turtlecoin.lol/wallet, and guys that are in the chat right now, his username, I believe, is Seth Estrada. If everybody wants to start hitting them with the barrage of tips, I'll be logging in shortly to do the same. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to give you some skin in the game to try out Turtle and see what it's all about. Thanks for having us on.
Well, I appreciate that. All right, guys, we'll see you. I think probably we'll Rock and I will probably we're going to set up our time for a proper Turtle fork live forking event.
Yeah, I'm ready. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you won't miss that.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I'm gonna close this out, and then and we'll get that set up for next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.